Howdy, with this essay, I want to go over the schedule real quickly, then go over essay number 3 and make sure you understand what I'm looking for in the essay and how to narrow your essay topics down as you work on the journal entries and the annotated bibliography, which should help you narrow your topic and kind of get you focused before you start writing the essay. Washington County schools are out for next week. Uh, this is what, the 5th or 6th different version of mask/COVID responses we're having to deal with, and I don't think we're done yet, but we'll see what happens. But we're going to continue the course as an asynchronous online course. What that means is that you don't have to be online at any particular time. We're not going to meet as a Zoom class or anything like that for next week. If we continue with online learning, we may have to go to Zoom or whatever Washington County likes to use. But for right now, we're going to do it asynchronously, so you can kind of work your schedule the way you need to, but still meet the assignment due dates that are coming up. If you have trouble with internet access, I strongly recommend, like say you don't have Wi-Fi at home, you might give Shelby or Jackie a call and see what Northeast State can do for you. We do offer students, if we can, internet access in different ways. So you might contact them and see if they can help you. But for the schedule, it's a little different for the second period and fourth period. Excuse me. That was kind of gross. Uh, Second period, some students fell a little bit behind. Also, fourth period has an extra 10 minutes of the class time, so that kind of adds up over the past 4 weeks. But should be getting essay number 2 in and being ready to start on essay number 3 on Monday. Is kind of to summarize all that. By Monday, I'll have these YouTube videos up, and you should be starting on journals 7 through 9 and the annotated bibliography assignment. The journals come due on Tuesday, August 31st, and I'm just assigning the due time at 11:59 at night, so we have a due time. I'm not actually up at midnight, so if it comes in at 2 in the morning, that's fine. But make sure it's there by the time I wake up on Wednesday and start grading everything. On Wednesday, September 1st, the annotated bibliography is due, and I'll go over that in a separate video. And you should be fairly set on the topic. I'm probably going to ask you to give me a short outline of what you're thinking about working with for essay number 3, along with that annotated bibliography. For Thursday, September 2nd, I want to see the first 2 paragraphs of essay number 3. Make sure you're on the right track. Make sure I can see where you're going with the essay and that you're not going to write your first book, which is quite often a concern with this essay because students pick too broad of a topic, and all of a sudden they're not even a quarter of the way through the story, and they got 2,000 words and like, oh, I need to narrow this down a little bit more. Then we're going to stay off as scheduled Friday, September through Monday, September 6th. Monday is Labor Day. It's a federal holiday, so we're off that day. And Friday, I think, was in service for Crockett faculty. And we were scheduled to not do much there, so we're not going to do much. Then when we get back on Tuesday, September 7th, hopefully in class, we're going to be moving quickly on essay number 3 and trying to get essay 3 done that week. If for some reason we're not in class and we're going to continue online, we might consider using Zoom or something, but we're going to just keep working with that essay. And one important thing with that email I sent and the notice, I'm just reading this off the front page of the course here. If you can contact other students and let them know that we're continuing in the class, that would do them a great service. If they just come in on Tuesday, September 7th, having done nothing for essay number 3, they're going to be in a little bit of pain, right? We don't want that. We want happy students who are working on essay 3 and ready to finish it that week of September 7th. Also, don't forget, you can check D2L email and you can watch these YouTube videos on your phone, right? If you sometimes students forget, like, oh yeah, I can use my phone for for good. But it's also a learning tool, right? Phones are just incredibly neat. We have it gives us the ability to do a lot of different things. But anyway, so that's scheduled. Let me know if you have any questions about it. My first email got a couple of the dates wrong. I think I said Monday, August 29th and Tuesday, August 30th, which isn't correct. The dates of the week are correct, and I'll send out a corrected version here after I'm done doing the videos. To see essay number 3, we're going to go to the content page. And now we're here at essays and projects. And we're going to come to APA medical research essay. We'll open that up, and I'm going to go ahead and download it. It's easier for me to highlight and stuff when it's open. But you're going to see we're going to, well, we'll wait for it to pop up. In a second. There it goes. And I went over it quickly in class on Friday, but I want to go into it a little more detail here. You're going to write a 1,500-word narrative research essay on the medical topic of your choice. This is going to be in APA formatting. APA stands for American Psychological Association. You're going to do a little work with that with one of the journal entries. And then once we actually start writing, I'll get into it a little bit more detail, probably in another video. Word count doesn't include the title page, an abstract page, or the references page. The references page is just APA's version of the works cited page, the bibliography page that lists your sources that you use in the essay. Kind of good to note that this is going to involve both process and comparison within the experiences of a person you know or yourself who's dealt with a medical issue. In other words, you're going to tell someone's story and put the research into the context of that story. So if you say, I'm going to do breast cancer, my first question is, whose breast cancer are you going to talk about? Whose experiences? If you go like, well, I don't know anybody with breast cancer, well, then you need a different topic because you need to tell the story of someone you know or yourself in terms of this medical concern. Also, don't think it has to be a life or death medical concern. I've had excellent essays on teen acne, peanut allergies, sports injuries, particularly ACL tears or ankle injuries. I work really well for this essay because they're nice. They're generally like an ACL tears, a very limited time frame, very specific about what the kind of surgery and what kind of rehab you have to go through. So that can be a very good topic. So if you're like, I don't know anybody with cancer or Alzheimer's or something, well, great. That's good for you, really. I mean, really. But everybody's had an injury or something happened. Your mother's gone through a major medical experience just in giving birth to you, right? I don't know if you want to do your essay on that, and your mom might not want to talk about it, but or she'll just remind you all the pain she went through to bring you into the world. But don't think in terms of it has to be life or death. Some of the better essays aren't, to be honest. And also kind of consider 1,500 words. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not any longer than the career essay, particularly when you start putting the research into it. So don't think you got to have this huge topic. In fact, the challenge with this essay is narrowing down the topics. If you choose a topic like Alzheimer's, that can take anywhere from 2 to 10 years to diagnose and develop and come to the end. You can't do that in 1,500 words. You're going to have to narrow that down into one particular time frame, or you might end up focusing the essay on my family's experience with taking care of a person in late stages Alzheimer's or something like that. Those tend to make good essays. It takes a lot to care for somebody, and generally, eventually, a family can't do it, and they have to put them into a facility. It's just impossible to do it unless you're able to just be there full time. But anyway, some requirements for the essay. So kind of start thinking about topics in those terms. How can I narrow this down into a good 1,500-word essay that really develops the ideas that you're trying to get across? No 3-point thesis, no 5-paragraph format. This essay is going to be a little more complex and have a few more stages to it. So don't try and get out of that mindset. Most of you have already. About half the word count should be the person's experience. The other half should be the research. If you have to go more on one side, it should be more on the person's experiences. This is a story about someone's experiences, and you're putting the research into the context of that story, right? Should have at least 3 authoritative sources. I want you to give the databases to the Northeast Data Try, especially where we're not on the campus at Crockett. This is probably going to be the easiest way to do it. But the TEL databases are the same at Crockett as they are at Northeast State. This is called the Tennessee Electronic Library. That's what our tax money is paying for. So both schools have access to the same databases. The other sources can be any reliable sources, not Wikipedia. There's some excellent Wikipedia articles out there, but generally they're not considered reliable. They're not peer-reviewed. You need somebody authoritative writing your sources for medical issues. So if you're Billy Bob's Auto Repair and Lung Cancer site, you might want to see who Billy Bob actually is. He might be a medical doctor with a specialty in lung cancer, but if not, you may have to find a better source. You should include at least 2 images in your essay. Those are kind of up to you. If you want an image of the person you're talking about, or if you got a picture of your scar or whatever, that's fine. If you're not comfortable with that, you should use an image from particularly these databases have good images, or other images from the internet if you want to. But they should really enhance your essay and give us a sense of what's going on. So instead of describing an ACL tear injury, a surgery to repair the injury, it might be better just to show a diagram of the knee so we can kind of see where the ACL is, and maybe you can put an arrow on there pointing to it or whatever, instead of trying to describe an entire knee, in 5 paragraphs, and you're just going to lose your reader anyway. Images can work really well with this essay. Need a long quote, short quote, summary, and paraphrase. You got to do that with the last 2 essays, just like we have the first 2 essays. You need all the fun punctuation, at least 2 forms of figurative language, which will just probably come naturally as you're writing. And you want to avoid you. You're not talking to the reader as if they have the disease, but you might use you as a hook. If you look at some sample essays, they'll start off with, "Have you ever lost your keys? Have you ever done this?" And of course, someone might just like, "Yeah." They say, "Well, you probably don't have dementia, but these are the first signs." And of course, then I get paranoid. That's kind of a good hook to get in there, to get the reader interested in the story that you're about to tell. But don't use it or got or get. Trying to start to avoid using to be verbs too much. Is and are. Start using action words. Trying to avoid that shift to passive voice. But as you think about a topic, it's going to involve both process and comparison techniques. It's kind of like that song analysis. It sounds like an easy essay at first, but once you get into it, you got to figure out how you're going to organize it, how the timeline is going to work, how you're going to narrow that topic down. All kinds of good stuff to think about. The process component is just going to come from the basic pattern of any medical issue that you deal with. Generally, you start out happy, healthy, and everything's going well. Then you start getting certain symptoms, and then those symptoms lead you to go to the doctors, and you get a diagnosis. Then you might get into the causes of what caused that diagnosis, whatever ailment you got. Then you get into the treatment of the illness. Then you get the results of those treatments. Then you start talking about, what's the future outlook for this person. Sometimes like nut allergies kind of go away on their own. Things like Alzheimer's don't go away, and the future's never particularly bright, right? Then at the end of your essay might be some kind of call to action. Do we need more research? Do we need awareness? Are you just going to kind of celebrate this person's life and say, hey, this person toughed it through this horrible experience, and now they're back in action and doing well? A lot of this depends on what your concern is. Symptoms for an ACL tear are pretty quick, usually. You jump up to do that header in soccer, and you land funny on your knee, and pop, and down you go. Not a lot of symptoms there. With something like Alzheimer's, the symptoms can take years to develop. You may not even know there's something wrong till, all of a sudden you're like, wow, you got to take her to the doctor and see what's going on here. But that can take years to develop to a stage where you actually get concerned about it. The comparison component, you're going to be comparing the person's experiences to the research you're providing on the medical issues. This is kind of a standard case of this ailment. Is this like an extremely difficult case, or is this kind of a minor case? And you're just going to start comparing your research to what the person's going through. And again, you can talk about something you've gone through. It's pretty easy to interview yourself. You don't have to rely on other people for information. In fact, that's one recommendation I have if you're kind of struggling with a topic. Find something that you can write about yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be a physical issue. I've had plenty of really good essays on anxiety or various emotional concerns. But keep in mind, we are going to do peer reviews on this. Make sure you ask the person if it's okay to talk about this. We're not going to publish it on the open internet, but other people are going to see this, so it's not like something that's going to be confidential. And also consider that if you're going to talk about yourself. Don't want the person in the seat next to me to know this. But hopefully the answer is going to be yes about it. Kind of think about that, and might just dismiss certain topics right off the bat. Also, it can be very difficult to talk about people who've been dead a while. If you want to talk about your great grandmother who's been dead for 20 years, that makes for a very difficult topic because getting that information is difficult. You can't interview the person. And sometimes people don't want to talk about it. If they haven't talked about it yet, they probably may not want to talk about it at all. So lots of things to consider about, to think about. That's why I wanted you to think about it over the weekend, and that's why we're going to work with this through the journal entries and the annotated bibliography. But you have a lot of leeway here. If you're I've had students want to talk about alcoholism and like their parents' alcoholism, and generally, some of them have decided, well, wait a minute, I want to talk about being a kid having to deal with my parent, my mother's alcoholism, to pick one. Um, that can make a good essay. How does a child deal with this? And it starts to become a different type of essay, but it works perfectly fine for this kind of format. And all of a sudden, you're dealing with what kind of effect does this have on children? How is that the same effect it had on the writer? And what kind of the treatment kind of idea kind of changes a little bit, but you still have to take care of yourself and figure out a way how to deal with these kinds of issues. So uh, lots of possible topics, and again, you need to kind of settle on one, narrow it down, and make sure you can write a good 1,500-word narrative research essay on it. If you have any questions about topics, if you want to send me 2 or 3 via email, I'm happy to say, yeah, I picked this one. But the trick is not to pick something too big that takes more than a few years to talk about. If you start talking about a 20-year process, uh, not enough time in 1,500 words to really do that. But we'll keep talking about this. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.